creating this cause and effect outline according to the directions from the tutorial for setting up an outline on Word, and I just wanted to demonstrate real quickly before I get into the outline how I am using that outline function. I followed the directions. I typed in the word outline. I wrote my thesis statement. I typed in Roman numeral 1 in introduction, and then I came up and clicked the define a new multi-level list, and I did 1 Roman numeral, 2 capital letters, 3 numbers, and 4 lowercase letters. I clicked OK. Now I have my outline ready to go. And I'm just going from this completion of the introduction over to start a new section. And I just want to show you that I'm going to click enter, enter, and that takes me to a new section. I'll be back in just a second and we'll go over this outline after I finish it. Back to this just a second. So I'm at the section of the outline where I'm going to show a specific list of odds that were against this event happening. So I'm going to click enter, and then I'm going to click tab, and that takes me over to number 1. Be back in a little bit. Okie dokie. Let's look at the cause and effect essay. Now the important thing is to select subject matter that you like, because if you write about a topic that you don't care about and that isn't interesting to you, then the whole tone of the essay will be negative and it will continually defy itself. So here's a thesis statement. Let's say we're going to work with this one. The unexpected popularity of the 1976 film Rocky caused a 39-year ripple effect that included motivation of a new wave of independent filmmakers, new tourism profits for Philadelphia, and a rise in the hitherto failing sport of boxing. So, I have indicated in my thesis statement that we are going to be discussing Rocky and the unexpected popularity of the film, which we're going to have to prove, and the ripple effect, that is the effect of this film, and that effect we're going to discuss in 3 parts. A motivation for new filmmakers, new tourism, and a rise in popularity for the sport of boxing. Yes? Okay. So we move on to the introduction, and just as we've done in the other outlines, this introduction is going to be 1 paragraph, and these will be statements. So they will be sentences rather than entire paragraphs. But this introduction is going to indicate what I'm going to be covering as I move through the essay. And I have found some really cool quotes in my research about what people said about Rocky, why it was so hard to get it made, where the money came from, and so forth. And I'm going to just include one of those quotes in the introduction, and I'm going to pepper those quotes all the way through the essay. So then I have the thesis statement right here, and that is this statement. And then I'm going to transition to the definition section. Now remember, transitions are part of your prerequisite skills, so if you're still a little fuzzy about what a transition sentence is, then you're going to want to go and study that, and you can Google that and look that up and make sure that you're up to speed on what a transition sentence is. So now we come down to the definition section. Just as we have in all the outlines, we have to define the topic. Now we can assume that the reader is of normal intelligence, but we don't necessarily know that the reader knows anything about Rocky. So this section, which is going to be several paragraphs long, because it's going to establish our topic, the cause of these effects. So I just jotted down some things. When you write your own outline on your cause and effect essay, you may include different facts, but I included facts that will lead to and logically connect to the effects. So I have the profits, and I have some interesting things about the film, and I have to prove that it was an unexpected success. I can't just say that because the reader may say, I don't think it's a success at all. Well, so I have to prove my terms. And I said it was an unexpected success, so I have to prove that it was unexpected, so it was difficult to get anybody to line up and pay to have the movie made. And then I have to prove that the profits and the first weekend results and everything shocked everyone and show that. Yes? So this is the section of the essay where I prove all my terms. I can't just throw anything out and expect the reader to just say, yep, that's absolutely true. I have to prove it. Okay. Then I'm going to put down what the results from 76 to 78 were. The awards results, when a film wins Academy Awards, it's covered with gold glitter, fairy dust. And so it certainly was. And there's no way to deny that film that was released in 1976 continued on for 39 years and is still going on in a number of franchise productions. All right, so then I'm going to transition to the first effect. Now that I've proved that the film was a success, any naysayers would have to prove it. All right, now I'm going to go down and I'm going to start my sections of the effects. And I have to prove that these effects were real. I can't just say it and expect the reader to say, yep, absolutely, it was absolutely that. I have to say how many, and start with my facts and figures, and how many films were made prior to Rocky by independent filmmakers, and so forth. So this I would fill out more later. I just wanted to give you an idea of how I would set up an outline. Then I'm going to go into the tourism, and that's going to be a pretty easy thing to prove because I've got to show what was the tourism prior to 1976 and what was the tourism after the release of Rocky. And I can show that in graphs and charts and facts. So that the reader can't say, well, I don't think it had any effect at all on tourism in Philadelphia. I can say, yes, it did. I have the charts and the graphs and the hotel, things and everything to prove it. And then I can even interview some tourists who've gone to Philadelphia just to see the statue of Rocky, all that kind of thing. So this is a fun section where I can, enjoy looking at what that effect was. Then the next section and the last section, and remember, all we have to do is go right back up here to our thesis statement. And that means that this section would be what? This last section. That's right, the hitherto failing sport of boxing. Great, see how brilliant you are? Okay, so we're down to this section, and we're going to discuss the popularity of Rocky before 1976. Same formula. What was the popularity after? And we have proved that effect. You see that we're using the same formula? What was the state of tourism? What was the state of boxing prior to 76? Do you see that? Okay. So it's the same formula repeated over and over. And I know sometimes people think, oh my gosh, if I use the same formula over and over and over, it's going to look like a boring, repetitive essay. No, it's not. It's going to look like a well-researched, beautifully organized essay. That's right. Now, here we go down into another area that makes this a position paper, and that is where I am going to include a paragraph that describes my position on the effects of Rocky. Now, this is an important thing that I've written here. It's important that my position be positive. Even if I'm talking about the cause and effects of a war, I've still got to talk about it in terms of my appreciation for the cause. If I write down, well, I didn't really care for the Rocky franchise, but I guess, whoops, I got to put this in italics. Remember, we put all of our titles in italics. Well, I don't really care for the Rocky franchise, but I guess even I can't deny that the film resulted in some positive effects. Do you see how that weakens the entire essay? The reader, the whole essay is for the reader. The reader's been along for this ride and has read the statistics and has read the popularity and listened to and read everything that you had to say. And if we come up to this part of the essay right here and you go, well, I didn't really like it. I didn't really care for any of that, and I don't have any appreciation for this, that, or the other. It weakens the entire cause and effect process. So I just want to make sure that you know that. And then we have the conclusion, and once again, if all I type in is conclusion, I am going to have a lot of points deducted for that. The conclusion is the hardest part of the outline. And so what I've done is I've researched my whole essays. I've found little facts and nuggets, and I have saved those for the conclusion, so that when I come to this point in the outline, I'm not discouraged or intimidated by the conclusion. I'm ready with my little facts that I held out for this conclusion. And I'm going to write the popularity of the underdog, and that is sort of an explanation for the effects of this cause. And I can't just say a lot of people like an underdog. I don't have any proof for that, so all I need to do is find one little psychologist that agrees with me that there is a tendency for a number of people, not most or many, because there's 8 billion people on this planet. We can't say most or many, but we can say a number of people favor the underdog. That's seen in statistics and everything else, but we're just at the conclusion phase, so we just want to mention this. And then I'm going to indicate something about the industry, and of course I have a quote to back this up. Rocky was a shock to the Hollywood community. That was one effect. And now I'm going to show the ripple was felt around the world. The effect continued. Do you see like one little tiny effect and then how it just blossoms out and has a worldwide effect? Yes? Then I'm going to have, I like to put in the middle of the conclusion on something like this, a quote from the actual person. And I'm going to indicate again what my 3 areas for the essay were, and I'm going to end with some awesome quote from the movie or something like that to wrap up my essay. And that concludes this tutorial on how to structure a cause and effect outline.